Hey there, children of the night, and welcome to Bob After Dark presents Creepy Pokèdex Entries in You. All right, that's okay. So we're gonna do two quick things before the panel starts. One, so a lot of people are still coming back to cons for their first time since 2020, and a lot of people might have forgotten some social skills like to that point. So we're gonna do a little social exercise, and I want you guys to look at one another and wave and say hi, just how you doing, check in with each other, make sure you're drinking water, all of that stuff. All right, you got 3 seconds, make some friends, slide into those DMs. 3, 2, 1, stop talking. All right, you guys are great. All right, so you might be wondering who I am, who this handsome devil in the very front of the room is. Oh, thank you. I heard a couple meows. I appreciate that. My name's Bob, by the way, in case you guys were wondering. Oh, thank you. I'm going to make you guys all interact here with me in a second. But for those who may not be informed, my name's Bob Anderson, and I host a paranormal podcast, Bob After Dark. Who's heard of me in the room before? Wow, there's a couple of you that have heard of me before. That guy right there, girl, whatever you want to be called. Yeah, you. Thank you. I appreciate you. You're getting a button. I'm saving a button just for you. All right. Yeah. So I host a paranormal podcast, Bob After Dark. I talk about everything legends, lore, and supernatural, things that go bump in the night, lights in the sky, weird cryptid stories. And I throw some stand-up comedy in there. I travel the world in search of the truth of the world unseen. I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm a cryptid zoologist. I'm a social butterfly around witch covens. You guys can invite me over to whatever sigil you got going on later tonight. I'll be there. I also play video games, which is why I'm at MAGFest. Why is this paranormal podcaster at MAGFest? I'm one of you, I promise. I was there, Gandalf, when I used to have to blow in a cartridge to make a video game work, or switching from channel 3 to channel 4, back down to channel 3 to make your video games work. Or maybe plugging in your AC adapter and unplugging it, plugging it back in. I was there. So, yes, I'm one of you, I promise. And so last night, who was at my video gaming creepypasta panel last night? I have a couple of you. So last night we did a little exercise, right? And that is, I travel all over the country and I do panels all over. A lot of cons. I do 30 to 40 a year. And I always make my room try to be the loudest room of every, con. And this is one of my more packed rooms. So I want everybody to give a round of applause real quick. I'm just curious how loud MAGFest could get. Well, okay. Wow, you guys are great. Thank you so much. All right. So you might be wondering why I'm here, because I'm, paranormal and podcaster. So Pokemon are kind of like this nice, weird comfort level for me, right? How many of you were around since Generation 1? Excellent. Now, if you're like me, you probably had to pop some Tylenol to get through this panel tonight because your back might be hurting. And because of that Tylenol, maybe you have like this weird comfort level with Pokemon, right? Like it's a nice place. It's something you popped in your, batteries in the Game Boy Color. Yeah, by the way, guys, we used to have to make batteries. We have to throw them out every time we're on a car trip. We used to have to use external lights. No, I promise this isn't a panel about me talking about like creepy like technology from yesteryear. However, some people here might be excited about that. But outside of that, Pokemon in general have like a weird like underlying like theme to it, right? You send this kid out at like 10 years old to go like play with monsters that, made creation. Or they look like Machamp and they'll like beat your, oh, this is an all ages panel. So it'll beat you up. But yet, you're 10 years old, you'll figure it out. But fun fact, the video gaming creators of Pokemon really like slide in some absolute horror to their video games. I know some of you probably are familiar with what we're going to talk about tonight, but you know, get the idea. You follow along. That's the reason why I'm into this concept, being, you know, the paranormal guy. I like spooky stuff, and I like horror fiction on top of things because that like helps drive where lore is at now, and Pokemon's a great thing for that. And ultimately, I just want to ruin every single one of your childhoods. Too late. Yeah, okay. So, what are you going to expect tonight? We're going to be talking about some unsettling Pokèdex entries. I'm actually going to teach you guys some stuff, too. I was expecting groans. I'm not like Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm not that cool. But, fun fact... Man, you guys are probably my best panel I've ever had. Listen, later, I'm going to make you record the Bob chant again because that's just going to make my head grow a couple inches tonight. But anyway, I'm going to teach you guys a little something because some Pokemon are actually based on real life, like ghost stories and lore and yokai. I know some of you guys are against the whole anime thing here. I know there's like this weird divide in MAGFest. I'm going to teach you some ghost stories. I don't really care. You can fight me in the pavilion or the gazebo after the ship panel. It's fine. And real quick, guys, the other thing you could be expecting tonight is there is going to be some disturbing content. Some things may be triggering, and I want you to all have a good time. Viewer discretion is advised. The first thing I'm going to talk about is going to relate to like kidnapping and stuff. So if that's a thing that's going to trigger you and make your night rough, I'm going to take a quick pause. I don't blame you if you have to leave. No one's going to make fun of you, I promise. I will fight them myself. Man, that's nothing to laugh about, guys. Listen, my life as a content creator full-time is I want to make sure everybody is taken care of. Consent is key. Everybody's all on the same page. I don't want to make someone's night rough because of something I showed them. Thank you, MAGFest. So without further ado, who's ready to have their night ruined? Welcome to the first Pokemon on the list. This, okay, yeah, I know, this is Hypno, by the way. Who was, the people that were at my my creepy pasta video game panel last night, you're gonna hear some similar stuff. But this thing right here was my first introduction to A, creepypastas, and B, things that kept me up like all night. Keep in mind, listen, I've been through it. I've been through demonic possessions. I've been through like people telling me about things that have happened to them through the spiritual realm, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing really frightens me. This thing. This thing. And I'm going to ruin it all with you guys here in just a little bit because I have a song for you guys to listen to. Yeah, don't worry, I'm getting to that part. Let me read you guys some Pokèdex entries. Now listen, I practiced for a while on my Pokèdex voice, but I got into the Blackberry Brandy before I came down here. So you guys are just going to listen to my Bob After Dark ASMR voice instead. You should feel lucky. My Patreon people usually pay like $10 a month for me to read them bedtime stories. So you get it for free. All right, so once upon a, I'm going to go through the different generations because every generation has a different like Pokèdex entry for the most part. And if you were lucky enough to play like Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, a lot of those had different entries than like Red and Blue or Silver and Gold. But in Stadium 1, the Hypno entry goes as follows. If you lock eyes with it, it will try to hypnotize you. It is best to keep your eyes quickly away from it before you get hypnotized. And in Ruby Omega and Sapphire Omega, Hypno holds a pendulum in its hand. The arcing movement and glitter from its pendulum lull the foe into a deep state of hypnosis. While this Pokemon searches for its prey, it polishes its pendulum. It gets worse. In the finest generation, Generation 2, in Gold Heart. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, folks. When it is very hungry, it puts humans its meats to sleep, and then it feasts on their dreams. That's great, isn't it? And then my favorite is Fire Red. It carries a pendulum-like device. There once was an incident in which it took a child away and hypnotized. Yeah. Or the absolute worst one in Moon. As a matter of course, if anyone meets fall asleep and it eats the taste of their dreams, anyone having a good dream, it could carry off. And it doesn't mean like in, dream sense. It'll physically just come and, eat you away. Yeah, I think it's time. Quit your moaning. I'm right here. I got you. I'll protect you.
Come, little children, come with me. Safe and happy you will be. Away from home, now let us run. With Hypno you'll have so much fun. Oh, little children, please don't cry. Hypno wouldn't hurt to fly. Be free to frolic, free to play. Come with me to my cave to stay. Oh, little children, please don't squirm. These ropes I know will hold you firm. Now look to me, the pendant calls. Back and forth your eyelids fall. Oh, little children, you cannot leave. For you, your families will grieve. Mine's unraveling at the seams, allowing me to haunt their dreams. Do not wail and do not weep. It's time for you to go to sleep. Little children, you were not clever. Now you'll stay with me forever.
Despite popular belief, I did not sing this song. This was something I found on the internet in like 2013. And back then I was in my 20s, and like I was saying before, I'm well into my paranormal studies at this point, but this thing like kept me awake at night. I used to, it's not a laughing matter. This thing actually freaked me out. This song kept me up for days. I used to work in a movie theater once upon a time ago, and like the cleaning staff knew this used to screw with me so bad that they would like the morning after, like they would come in, they would leave Hypno Pokemon cards for me. True story. They would leave these things and be like, "Dear Bob," and I'd open up the envelope and I'd quit. Go home for the day. But it's so strange. Now here I am in my 30s. Please, MAGFest 21 plus, don't kick me out for that fact. Yeah, I'm missing 31 plus. I'm missing Bunfust, so it's fine. And this thing still can keep me up at night, despite everything I've studied. And I've studied some things that would keep you up at night. I've seen some stuff, and this thing, 100%. And I think it's the concept of like it's something I knew as a child. I remember watching like the Hypno version of the Hypno episode of the anime early on, when Hypno would help like put people to sleep. And even then, as like 7, 8 years old, that would freak me out. And here I am in my 30s now. This thing is like grown into like a whole new like genre of scare and creepiness. And the fact that some jerk online named Trainer Derek, if you're in the room, by the way, me and you are fighting. I did a really good job. They based this song off of a Pokèdex entry, and it grew into this whole new thing that wasn't just like, Pokèdex entry. They grew their own lore on it, and it's really fascinating, and it scared the crap out of me. So hopefully I ruined some of your nights too. If any of you guys have any nightmares based on this, just you could write me at complaints@bobafterdark.com. That email address doesn't actually exist, but you could still send it there. All right, you ready for the next one? Yo, man, you guys okay? Oh, you don't like dolls? Okay. Well, this has been that, by the way. In the Ruby Pokèdex entry, it generates energy for laying strong curses by sticking its pins into its own body. And this Pokemon was originally a pitiful plush doll that was thrown away. It's okay there. The pins in the body, it's not terrible. It gets worse. In Sapphire, the entry goes, it's a cursed energy premated for the stuffing of a discarded and forgotten plush doll, giving it new life as the said Pokemon. And this Pokemon's energy would escape if it was ever to open its mouth. Still a little weird. You got some haunted fluff going on. Bill the Bear would have a hell of a day with this thing. Build-A-Bear, if anybody out there is from Build-A-Bear, like corporate, get at me. I'm still waiting for you guys to make the Bob After Dark Build-A-Bear, but anyway. In the Emerald entry, it's an abandoned plush doll that become this Pokemon. They are said to live in garbage dumps and wander about in search of children that threw them away, aka most people that hang out at anime cons like myself. Anyway, all right, and then the Fire Red Leaf Green. Strong feelings of hatred turned a puppet into a Pokemon. If it opens its mouth, a cursed energy escapes. And I'm not done. Out of most of the Pokemon I researched for this entry, for this panel, this thing probably had some of the most. In Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, it was a doll that became a Pokemon over its grudge for being junked. It seeks the child that disowned it. And in X, Y, and Ultra Sun, it is a doll that became a Pokemon over its grudge for being junk. It seeks the child that disowned it. So over the years, up until, X, Y, and Ultra Sun, this thing went from, very kind of sad. It probably listens to My Chemical Romance in its downtime like me. 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, by the way, their best album, if anybody has any complaints. Yeah, thank you. But no, see, it goes from like this very I got thrown away, it's kind of sad, and it jabs pins in itself, I get it, to, it's just going to go searching for the kid that threw it away. This thing went from like 0 to 100 in no time flat. All right, you guys familiar with your Floon? So fun fact, Jafloon doesn't like heavy kids, and because I'm in like 2023's coveted body type of chubby, I guess this thing won't be carrying me away anytime soon. In Pokemon Diamond, it is a Pokemon formed by the spirits of people and, Pokemon. It loves damp, humid seasons. In Pearl, it tugs on the hands of children to steal them away. However, it gets pulled around instead. So it's kind of funny. You think about this thing maybe like drifting by and it sees, some kid's wrist and it's like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? I'm going to whisk you away to someplace else. And it's like, nah, dude, you're like a balloon. I'm just going to pull you away. If you guys are reading this, it definitely gets worse. In Platinum, because of the way it floats aimlessly, an old folktale calls it a signpost for wandering spirits. That's kind of cool. I guess I've been called the same thing in my heyday. And in Heart Gold, which in my opinion is the worst one out of the batch, it is whispered that any child who mistakes Jafloon for a balloon and holds it can end up missing. All right, you guys are all in the same place I am, right? Now, this is a part in the panel, and you're going to hear me say this a lot. Game Freak, right? The people that make Pokemon, do they need a hug? Are they okay? Now, it's okay to put some things in there that might be a little unsettling or a bit on the strange side or whatever it might be. Nah, man, this thing, it's just not. It's going to end up missing. It doesn't tell them it's going to whisk them away to an afterlife or whisk them away for a good time or whatever it be. Nah. It's just you're going to end up missing. That's the question. Where is the right? Exactly. Where is correct? And probably no place good. And then here we're going to be talking a little bit about another creature. This one here is the ice Pokemon. The name just slipped my mind because my notes just deleted it. Thank you. You get the idea. In Diamond, it freezes foes with an icy breath nearly minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. What seems to be its body is actually hollow. In Heart Gold, legends in snowy regions say that a woman who was lost on an icy mountain was reborn as a Frolos. And in Sun, when it finds a human or Pokemon it likes, it freezes them and takes them to its chilly den where it becomes their decorations.
Sick!
Yeah. Needless to say, I guess this thing would be like not needing IKEA at that point. Yeah, exactly, right? And then finally in Ultra Moon, it is said that on the nights of terrible blizzards, it comes down to human settlements. If you hear it knocking on your door, don't open it. Now, I know all of you degenerates in this room probably would open your door. And may I add, instantly. All right, who's ready to learn something? right, so that Pokemon's actually based on real life lore that we get from Japan. Oh, somebody said, oh, hell, believe it or not, Pokemon's from Japan. Ah, man, sorry for ruining your night. All right, so who in the room is familiar with yokai? Yeah. Man, come find me an anime con. I do yokai panels like all the time. It's like my staple. But instead, you guys get stuck talking with me talking about Pokemon, which means I get to inject like actual ghost stories into it, which is a lot of fun. What's that? The what? The night parade? My Chemical Romance Dark Parade? I'm screwing with you. I get it. I get to play the role of comedian while I'm up here because they gave me a panel too. So anyway, let me talk to you guys about the Yuki-onna, and it's one of my favorite like yokai of all time. And if you guys go back and listen to my podcast, this is actually the first episode of my podcast I ever had was about the Yuki-onna. It's got a special place in my heart. Now the Yuki-onna's got two separate side stories to it. One is this very like unbeknowing spirit. The first writing we have of the Yuki-onna tells during the Edo period in Japan, talks about a monk who walks outside of his house during a snowstorm and goes out into his garden and he sees a woman in a translucent kimono and he gets worried and he's like, ma'am, it's snowing outside. You're going to get cold. You should probably, dress a little warmer than a translucent kimono. She turns to him, smiles, and then disappears into the snow. Well, nice, glisten Pixar moment, and it's gone in the snow. Now, that's the happy version of the story because, geez, Discord, thanks. It's just, those, man, no, whoever's on Discord bothering me can bother me later. Sorry, guys. So the Yuki-onna is the second part of it. It's actually a lot more terrifying. And is anybody here with like American and North American cryptid stories? That's a little bit more of okay, a little bit. So the Yuki-onna is very similar traits to the North American story of the Wendigo, specifically in the Algonquin tribes. Yeah, some people. I know this is off the rails from Pokemon, but I told you guys I was going to learn you something. You guys all started chanting Bob, so I had to keep going with it. Anyway, so the Yuki-onna has some loose tales with like the Wendigo, where it has the ability to control snow, and it could throw its voice, and it wants to capture unsuspecting victims into the woods. And it's very similar with the Yuki-onna, where there's stories of her like throwing her voice to making it sound like a crying baby in the woods, and somebody wandering around is going to hear a baby and they're going to find it and they're going to pick it up, and then the baby turns into this like ice pile, and before you know it, you're covered up to your neck in ice where you suffocate and die. And one of the most famous stories of the Yuki-onna, and again, this relates back to Pokemon. I'm sorry, I'll get back to it. They got stuck on me talking about lore, so I'm excited now. So one of the most famous stories of the Yuki-onna talks a little bit about a tale of two woodsmen. They were wandering through a woods when a snowstorm happened, and there was an older man and a younger man, and they find an abandoned cabin out in the woods. They go and find refuge, and the older man says to the younger man, "Stay here. I'm going to go find help. Do not answer the door if it wasn't for, if it's not me." Time passes, and the younger man hears an answer on the door, and he looks out and sees that there's a woman there. Now, he was told not to answer the door. And can you probably guess what this young man does? He opens the door, and he sees this beautiful woman there who says she's cold, and she's wearing a translucent kimono and has pale skin, and he feels bad for her, so he invites her in the cabin. And all of you guys that are probably more on the degenerate side of things might, two kind of creatures hanging out in the cabin during a blizzard. One thing's going to lead to another. This is an all ages panel, so I'll just say fill in the blanks. Yeah, there was one area to sleep in. Anyway, so the Yuki-onna and this gentleman end up canoodling, we'll say, at... Round of applause for that shout out right there. Thank you. I want to say real quick, guys, I don't laugh during my panels because I do a lot of these. I'm usually like 2 or 3 a month. And that right there made me laugh. I don't laugh during these things, so thanks for making me laugh. You guys are great. So anyway, the Yuki Onna was there to, well, no, she wasn't. She was there to actually kill the guy. And she felt bad for him because canoodling happened. And she says, hey, I'm telling you right now, if you tell anybody that this happened and that I am what I am, because she reveals herself, I'm going to come find you and I'm going to kill you. And she presents him with a baby that I guess they just created. Yeah. Man. Wait till I get to the talking shoe story later. Anyway, so long story short, the young woodsman raises this child, and the child always asks about who the mother is. And eventually the young woodsman tells her, hey, your mom's a Yuki Onna. And lo and behold, the Yuki Onna appears and says, hey, you probably shouldn't have told this baby who I am, because I specifically warned you about this. And lo and behold, she ended up killing him and then take the child to wander out in the woods to kill unsuspecting woodsmen. Long story short, don't always trust people that slide into your DMs. That's your Bob PSA for the night, folks. All right, back to Pokemon now. I will go back to teaching you guys something later too, by the way, so stay prepared. We still got about 15, 20 minutes left. All right, so back to Pokemon. Who around has been since Generation 1 Pokemon stuff? All right, good. Before, by the way, is everybody having a good time still? I'm glad. So, Gengar, right? First Pokemon ever, and it... probably the most popular ghost Pokemon of the time. And I would argue, working in the marketplace and you get to see people in, merch for MAGFest and whatnot, people still really like Gengar. There are a lot of Gengar fans in the room right now. I'm aware this thing got even a Mega Evolution, later down the line, so I guess it just goes to show you that having a long tongue will get you someplace in life. Thank you for enjoying my bad humor, guys. Now, the earliest form of a spooky thing of Pokemon that I remember even growing up as a kid, even before Hypno's Lullaby, was the concept that a Gengar shadow and a Clefable's shadow look very similar alike. So I remember growing up on the playground with that jerk that would say my uncle works for the Pokemon company, would promise you Pokemon cards, but would never, give them to you. Thanks, Todd. And they would tell you, oh yeah, did you know that Gengar is actually the ghost of Clefables, and that's why ghost Pokemon and normal Pokemon can't interact with one another? And you believe him because Todd made it sound like he knew everything about Pokemon and told you to move a bus off the St. Anne and would try to push it forever to get a Mew. And then you spend hours sitting there using strength on a truck on the side of the St. Anne, and you swim there and there's nothing. No, I'm joking, guys. That was a whole bit. You're supposed to laugh. All right, now I know y'all are laughing, but I know at least one of you tried to use strength on that truck next to the SS Anne to get the Mew. I got a couple of people, thank you. Thank you for making me not feel bad about myself. I appreciate it. All right, so anyway, the Clefable and the Gengar Shadow are one and the same, and there's always that thing of Gengar's the shadow Pokemon, and come to find out through the generations, there are some, really creepy Pokedex entries when it comes to Gengar, even dating way back to Red and Blue, and it goes as follows. Under a full moon, this Pokemon likes to mimic the shadows of people and laugh at their fright. Much like most of you that probably dwell on the internet. In Crystal, hiding in people's shadows at night, it absorbs their heat. The chill it makes causes the victims to shake. Kind of cool, right? It's sometimes you get really warm in bed, and it's I could use a little coldness. Or, instead of using a heating pad on your back at night. In Sun, should you ever feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is an evidence of approaching Gengar. There is no escaping it. Give up. Now, I'm not lying to you guys. Everybody here play Pokemon Sun? This is the actual entry. There's no escaping it. Give up. Now listen, I know some of you guys are here laughing oh, Bob's a funny guy, right? No, I'm actually concerned. This is terrifying. And then finally in Scarlet, to steal the life of its target, it slips into the prey's shadow and silently waits for an opportunity. Now, I don't know what that opportunity could mean. You guys leave that open to your imaginations because, all ages panel. But man, I could think of several things that I would be vulnerable to. And that would be a very inconvenient time for a Gengar to attack me. And I would totally be like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of deserve that. AKA everybody's first. Everybody Gengar fans here? Anyway. Are you still a Gengar fan after I just told you all of this? All right. I hope you guys are all drinking water and seeking help when you need it, okay? Oh my God. You're awful. You guys okay? This is a Gourgeist, by the way. Now, fun fact, I wasn't familiar too much with this Pokemon. It came up in my research, and I'm going to learn you something. Did you know that this Pokemon is actually based on real-life lore of a cryptid in Africa known as the man-eating gourd? Did somebody actually know that? Did you really? You know what the man-eating gourd is? Man, you're ruining me telling everybody to go listen to my episode from like 4 weeks ago when I talk about the man-eating gourd. But good job. Thank you. But anyway, this is going to be a quick one because there's not a lot of information about the man-eating gourd, but the man-eating gourd is the story in Africa of this gourd, and everybody knows what a gourd is, I hope, that eats people. That's all there is to it. It's a cryptid story from over there. But anyway, loosely based, we get this Pokemon here, and there's 3 sizes to it, right? You got your normal size, you got your bigger size, and then you got your super sized. And so I'm going to read you each entry because each entry progressively gets worse as it moves on in the decks. So in X with the normal one, singing in eerie voices, they wander into town streets on the night of the new moon, which actually is tonight. Well, it's kind of it's a full moon, not a new moon. Catch it next month when this thing could get you. Anyone hears their song is cursed. Now, we don't know how bad the curse is, but we just know that you're cursed. It could be that you're only stuck buying chunky peanut butter the rest of your life, in which case that's a living hell for me. I'm out. I'm sorry for all of you that are chunky peanut butter fans. You guys, awful. And why? It enwraps its prey in its hair-like arms. It sings joyfully as it observes the suffering of its prey. It gets worse. It's the small form in Sword and Shield. The small type of this Pokemon pretend to be children of full adults. Anyone who falls for the act can get carried away into the hereafter. Now, fun fact, the Pokemon company, Game Freak, they always use a different term for the afterlife. Sometimes it's called the afterlife. Sometimes it's called the hereafter. And now, in my opinion, I don't think they know what they're talking about. And they're like, what's the hereafter? We're just going to use that term. In my opinion, it's pretty much just going to kill you. So the hereafter sounds kind of nice, but it's really not. And then the average size in Sword and Shield, eerie cries emanate from its body in the dead of night. The sounds are said to be wails of the spirits who are suffering in the afterlife. In the darkness of a new moon night, the Gourgeist will come knocking. Whoever answers the door will be swept off into the afterlife. So we go from the hereafter to the afterlife. I don't know if they're 2 separate things, if there's one better one than an okay one. I don't know. Probably something for Bob after Dark to answer. It's large size in Sword and Shield. The large one put on guys for adults, taking the hands of children to lead them into the afterlife. So much like Drifloon, where it's going to, take the string and wander them away. This thing's actually going to get the job done because it's a giant pumpkin. And then the supersized shield gives 0 Fs, and they aren't picky. They forcibly drag anyone, that includes you, to the afterlife. So we go from, hereafter the afterlife to now we're at the afterlife, and it's not picky. So beware the pumpkin, everybody. All right, so we still got a few more to go, guys. Are you guys still having a good time? I check in with all of you to make sure you're having a good time. Do we have a question? Yeah.
So you're saying, say there's a scenario, I have a chance to either get killed by a frozen yokai.
Be careful. This is an all ages panel, my friend. Boo this man. Boo him. I mean, I don't blame you, but I just have to say that because it's, an all ages panel. All right, guys, let's move on. I appreciate some level of degeneracy in my panels. All right. Well, I see people really excited. So, fun fact. You guys all good? Yeah. Okay, just making sure. I hear some side chatter. So this Pokemon here is literally a living chandelier, and I don't know why you like it. Is it competitive? I don't follow the competitive Pokemon scene. It's literally a chandelier, guys. Look up there. This is what you like? It's so friendly until I read to you. All right, so in Pokemon Black, the entry goes as follows. It absorbs a spirit, which then it burns. And you guys, so nice. By waving the flames on its arms, it can put its foes into a hypnotic trance, just like a certain other Pokemon we talked at the beginning of this panel about. In Pokemon White, being consumed by its flames burns up the spirit, leaving the body behind. And you guys are all saying it's a good thing. You guys okay? Do you need hugs? I can offer after the panel. Come find me. I'll be out in the hall. In homes illuminated by it instead of lights, funerals were constant occurrence, or so it said. So this thing likes to make appearance at funerals. Allegedly. All right, who's ready to learn again? So fun fact, this in its previous Pokemon entry where it's the little candle, I forget its name. Thank you guys, I appreciate you. I promise I know what I'm talking about. It's just been a long day. So this is actually based on a Japanese yokai classification as well. So there's an entire classification of yokai, Japanese spirits or deities or monsters or cryptids, whatever, where it talks to you a little bit about the concept of a inanimate object coming to life due to something. So there's a lot of these stories. There's some of them called like the Bikula Noa Noa, which is about like a stringed instrument that comes to life and, will torment you at night. But one of my favorite classifications of this yokai is the Bakizori, a little different than the chandelier, but I'm just going to teach you guys a little something. Are you guys excited to hear about this? Is anybody familiar with this thing before I go on? All right, I see a couple hands raised. Yeah, you're over there, you get it. So anyway, this is the Bakizori, or as I call it, Night of the Living Flip-Flop. A lot of times when you sit down and you tell a fable or you tell a ghost story or whatever, sometimes you really wanted to drive home a lesson. And so in this case, with the living flip-flop, the Bakizori here, it's the concept that you should really take care of your footwear. Now, you laugh, but seriously, once upon a time ago, and even now, footwear is really expensive. And if you're not taking good care of your footwear and you're just going to discard it, you're not, taking care of it, whatever, there's a potential of this thing coming to life. And when it comes to life, it runs through a house screaming all kinds of absurdities and waking you up in the middle of the night. It's not practically dangerous, but it's up there on my list of things that would really piss me off. And so it'd run through the house screaming 1 eye, 2 eye, 1 teeth, 2 teeth, and just would do that running through the house until it eventually runs out of your house and into the woods and disappears. I don't know how this is related to our chandelier friend, but I just wanted to teach you guys something. Because it's my panel and you're all deciding to sit here. Round of applause for the MAGFest staff, by the way. Look at that, guys. I got more swag for you. That's kind of cool. Guys, thank you so much for coming to my panel. Now, I'm leaving the next few minutes open for Q&A, and I do have some PSAs to say because I like to end my panels like 10, 15 minutes early to get you guys a chance to talk and say hi and get your swag and everything. So does anybody have any questions for me? We'll start right here. Can you stand up? Thank you. Kind of, sort of. The will-o'-the-wisp is another kind of ghost-type creature, very similar. I just talked about the Bakizori because it's an absolutely ridiculous sandal. 100%. Next question. Off to the left, glasses. Yep.
You ever consider like Esper, that Pokemon that can like kill everyone in a 2-kilometer radius?
100. It's fine. I'll pet it in a heartbeat. No, the same question. Yep, you right here. Yeah. Yes, 100%. It's absolutely horrifying creatures. Gray hoodie in the back. I can't hear you, buddy. I'm sorry. No, I have not. I'll have to check it out. All right, over here.
Which Pokemon do you find the most cringeworthy?
Cringeworthy? Hypno? It drags kids away. Thanks, guys. Now, I do have some swag. Everybody left early, so they didn't get a chance to get free Pokemon cards from me or buttons. So, well, I did have a whole thing planned out, but everybody's kind of started taking off early. So, who here... we'll start with this. You guys can follow me on social media. Bob After Dark plays on any podcast network you guys can find. I'm on wherever you listen to find podcasts at. If you guys come up here and show me that you follow me on a podcast service, I will give you some free swag. So come on up. I still have like 10 buttons to give away. And then my final thing, as you guys are doing that, make sure you drop by the marketplace, guys. Go visit your vendors. A lot of them had to struggle really hard to stay alive during the 2020 pandemic with no cons going on. So go spend some money down there. And then finally, MAGFest wouldn't run without its staff and, volunteers that make this thing possible. A lot of them aren't paid to do this. They're here to make sure that the show runs good for you guys. So make sure you thank your staff and your volunteers and be patient with them. They want to make sure you're having a good time just as much as you want to have a good time. So make sure you give a round of applause for the MAGFest staff. And finally, before I call it quits here in the evening, guys, I went from working a really dead-end job that really made me mad in the world to where I'm a now full-time content creator. Like, that's really cool. And I just got done shooting like a TV show that you're going to be able to watch on HBO, like hopefully soon. That's really cool. So what I'm getting at here is I want every single one of you to follow your dreams. No matter how ridiculous, how stupid you might think it is, I promise it's not stupid, and I support you. Unless your dream is to be a hypno, in which case I'll see you in the gazebo, we're going to fight. But what I'm getting at here is if you want to dig ditches for a living, go be the best damn ditch digger you possibly can be. I support you in your endeavors. Go be whatever you want to be. So I got some things left. If anybody, I have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 Pokemon trading cards here from Halloween. Okay, so how we're going to do this is the first 7 people that can follow me on social media that's not a podcasting service get some Pokemon cards. So the people that already follow me on the podcast scene can get themselves some cards now. And people who follow me on the social medias can get some buttons too. Make sure you follow me on Podcast Land and listen wherever you listen to podcasts at. The Wi-Fi, man, I don't know. Good luck. It's called Bob After Dark. Oh, excellent. Here, get yourself a trading card. All right, we were forming a line, folks. Get back there.